Hello and welcome to the Art of Decluttering podcast. I am your host, Amy Revell. So great to be back with you this week. We've had a couple of banger episodes in the last few weeks, and I really wanted to come back to a phrase that was mentioned, just a phrase that was mentioned in my episode with Dana K. White. And so we're going to come back to that in just a minute. I wanted to start off by just telling you a little bit of an update with the podcast. I've decided to stick with YouTube. You guys, we started at the start of the year and I said I was going to give it 6 months. It's been about 5 months. And the way that I know I'm going to stick with it, is lots of you are watching, so that's really cool. But I decided this week that I'm actually going to create a proper podcast studio in the house, which we have the space to do. We have a little bit of a room between a thoroughfare going out to Cal's office outside. And so it's not quite a bedroom. It's kind of this in-between space. I'd offered it to the kids. I was like, does anyone want it for gaming, for sports, for music? They were both like, nope, we're quite happy. I'm going to turn it into a podcast studio. So this week I've been picking wall colors and getting some lights delivered and doing a few different things. So that makes my little podcast heart happy. If you are an audio listener, great, excellent. Nothing will change. You can just imagine me sitting on a more comfortable couch with a less distracting background. Like that's kind of what's going to change. The rest will be the same. But I do know that sometimes when you start out with something, particularly as an ADHDer, it can be tempting to go and buy all the things. And so I'm quite proud of myself that I've managed to kind of put myself out there going like, hey, is YouTube the thing? And turns out it is. And so now is a time for me to invest in that. I don't think the plants are going anywhere. If you go to any room in my house, to be honest, there are always lots of plants. But it'll be nice not to have a window that looks out into my backyard and a random door. And some of those things will change. So hopefully it'll be a little bit less cluttered. But we needed to have time to get there. So I'll put some photos on socials as I start to do that. As I said, paint testing has started this week. I'm going for like a deep green. I've looked at a deep teal and I'm just kind of trying to get that right. So it's a bit of a fun project. I love a little bit of DIY. My sister Laura has been over helping pick colors and design things with me. So it has been super fun. So keep your eyes out over the next probably couple of weeks. That'll start to come together. And then, I'll be able to start recording in that space, which will be fun. So back to this week's episode, the phrase that Dana said was, you can keep anything, but you can't keep everything. You can keep anything, but not everything. And a few of you commented and let me know like that phrase really stuck with you. And so I thought what I would do is give a whole episode to this phrase and to what it means underneath it and to what that practically means for you guys. So I want to think about that limits are really what we're talking about here, that you can keep anything. So you've got freedom and you have choice and you have the ability to kind of look after yourself, make the decisions that you think are best. You've got that autonomy. But when it says you can't keep everything is because there are limits. Even someone with severe hoarding disorder does not keep everything because there are limits. The limit might be their house or their house and their garden or their house and their garden and their car. But at some point that limit stops because that person's hoarding and their stuff isn't in your house and it's not in my house. And so every situation that you think about, there are natural limits. And limits can feel like they're a bit suffocating at times. But what I want to try and do is reframe limits from being like imposed upon you to actually being boundaries. And boundaries are awesome because boundaries keep you safe. Boundaries actually make you more creative. Boundaries give you peace and clarity. And ultimately, boundaries give you freedom because you know where the limits are. And when you have limits, you have freedom within those limits. And so it doesn't just apply to stuff. And I want to talk a little bit about this today because when we're talking about minimalism and decluttering and organizing, we often just focus on our stuff. And primarily the stuff that I talk to you about is about the possessions in our home. But when it's like you can keep anything but not everything, I want to give you a couple of examples that aren't just about your stuff. We'll start with the stuff, right? Because that's obviously where our brains first go. And our houses are natural containers, and every room within our house is another natural container, and every space within that room is another natural container. And these containers create space and boundaries and limits. So in your wardrobe, you can keep anything. If you want to wear a pink polka dot jumpsuit and you're going to wear that, keep it. There's no one out there telling you you can't keep whatever you want. However, you can't keep everything. You can't keep all of the items because you simply don't have the space. If you have the space and you love what you have, you don't have a decluttering problem. And so you can keep all of it in that instance. But generally speaking, for most people, if you were looking around your home and you're like, it's cluttered, it's not functioning how I want it to function, you probably have a quantity problem. And when it comes to that, instead of feeling like I have to get rid of stuff, I don't know what to choose, this is really hard, I want you to see those boundaries as a bit of freedom. Like, I can keep anything I want in my wardrobe, anything. No one is going to come and knock on your door and say, you've kept the wrong thing in your wardrobe. You picked the wrong item of clothing. Nobody's going to do that. You get the freedom to keep anything within that space that you would like. But you probably can't keep everything. If you kept every item of clothing that you ever had, let's say from 16 onwards, you wouldn't have room in your house, would you? And so you can keep anything, you can keep any of those items, but you can't keep all of them because it will just overflow. I want you to think about it in terms of your calendar as well, is you can say yes to anything, but you can't say yes to everything because there are certain limits. You've got hours in the day, you've got awake hours in the day, you've got awake and productive hours in the day. And if you say yes to everything, you aren't going to be able to do the things that you love. So you might have to say yes to work. And maybe that's 40 hours a week for you. Plus, maybe you're doing 4 hours of travel over the course of a week to and from work. Maybe you're saying yes to one party on a Friday night, but that means that you don't have space for another. And so our calendars, like our homes, have a limited amount of space, and you can fill it however you like. You can fill it however you like, but you can't fill it with everything. There just isn't the time. You can't join every club and go to every party and catch up with every friend in the course of a week. You have to prioritize and you have to fit things into the slots. And what that boundary of time does is it helps you to determine what's important. Because if everything is important, how do you decide what you're going to do on a Saturday afternoon? Do you sleep? Do you garden? Do you catch up with friends? Do you go play sport? Do you go see music? Like, what do you do? And so you have to make these priority choices. And it's the same in your home. You have a limited amount of space and you get to pick what you put in it. You can also think about this in terms of your money. You have a limited amount of money. At least I do. You probably do too. You have a limited amount of money. You can spend it on anything, but you can't spend it on everything. If you go into the supermarket, you could probably buy anything in there, but you can't buy everything in there. So there's these natural boundaries because you just don't have the money. And so you need to prioritize what is most important to you, what helps you achieve your goals within the supermarket, within the amount of money that you have. And so even if you had $1 billion, you still have to make choices because what you buy and what you spend your money on is a reflection of you, and you've got to deal with the consequences. If you buy all the food, where are you going to store it? If you buy only junk food, you're not going to feel that great. So like every decision we make within boundaries, the boundaries create a safe and functional space for us to make decisions in alignment with our values. Too much choice is not a good thing. The paradox of choice is like we think that more and more and more options give us more freedom, but actually studies show that when people have too much freedom, it actually restricts their ability to make a decision. Now, I see this paradox of choice in homes all the time. Your fridge is so full you can't decide what to cook, and so you get takeaway. Your wardrobe is overflowing. There's no space in it. You can't put things away. You can't find the clothes you want. So you go shopping and buy more clothes. Your makeup station is disorganized, stuff everywhere. It's dirty, it's messy. So you go and buy new makeup because you can't find what you need. The kids' room, the kids' toy room has so much stuff. There's toys everywhere. That's on the floor. It's mixed up in containers and they can't find specifically what they want to play with. And so you take them to the shops to buy them more toys. So choice often results in overwhelm where you can't make a decision. And so you go and purchase more. And so I want you to think about this, like you can keep anything, but not everything when it comes to kids' toys. I mean, kids know this. They know that they can't keep everything. They know when they go to the shops, they don't point to you and say, I want one of everything. They probably just point to you and say, I want that thing. And I'm not suggesting that you need to get them that thing. I'm just suggesting that's how their brains work. Is like they're not saying, I want all the things. When kids go and they try on clothes, they don't say, I want one of everything. They pick something that they love and they like, and they do it. And then when you look with kids and you ask them to do some decluttering, what I love doing is giving a boundary and allowing children to have the choice. I did this recently with a young girl and we had a big basket for her soft toys. So we pulled all the soft toys on the floor, from her bed, from her wardrobe, from her floor, from under her bed, everywhere. There were, I don't know, maybe 200. And we had a big hamper. And I said to her, you can keep whatever soft toys you want. This is the limit we've got, though. This is the limit she agreed on, that her parents agreed on. And so she then could fill it with anything, but not everything. And she did. And she loved it. And she was awesome. Like, she found like a little pocket where like there was toys and there was space in between. She'd shove a little toy in. She was putting as much into that hamper as she possibly could. Good on her. And she filled it, but she got to pick. And she very clearly understood, I can keep anything, but not everything. And it's the same when you're filling a kid's pencil case. You look at all the pencils and pens and texters that you have and you say, like, put in there whatever you like. But the limit is the pencil case. And so I think about that with garden sheds. Like, sure, you can keep whatever you want in your garden shed, but the limit is the garden shed. So if it doesn't fit, something either needs to come out or you need to curate. You need to make room for what matters. When we think about creativity, often we think that more choice will help us to be more creative, more supplies, more instruments, more, technology will help us to be more creative. But again, this paradox of choice is you can take any photo, but you can't take every photo. You can paint any painting that you like, whatever you like, the canvas is yours. But you can't paint every painting. You can make any piece of jewelry that you like, but you can't make every piece of jewelry in the world. And I think that there's this natural thinking of like, but more is better, but it's not. Sometimes when you have a limit of one canvas, one toy box, one wardrobe, you actually make better choices. You've just got one kitchen in your house. Presumably you have one kitchen in your house. Then you have to pick what goes into that kitchen because the limit is your kitchen. You don't want to have dining, like, what are they called? Dining sets and crockery in your bedroom or in the bathroom or in the laundry. You want it in the kitchen. So you have to make choices. You can keep anything you want in your kitchen, but you can't keep everything. You can't have every dinner set. You can't keep every pot and pan you've ever bought, every piece of Tupperware you've ever bought. You can't. It just won't fit. So you get the freedom to choose. And then you have to choose within the boundaries. You've got the boundaries of time. You've got the boundaries of money. You've got the boundaries of like space. So your home is that space and you get to pick. And I think that's exciting. I think that actually births freedom because when you can look at a space and you go, I can keep anything I want in here, you start to look around and think, oh, what's the most important? What do I love the most? What do I use the most? And so instead of the decluttering being the focus of what do I have to get rid of, you're focusing on what will I keep? What is important enough to me to take up the space that I'm going to give it? And I think that's an awesome way of thinking about our stuff. So I hope that is really helpful for you. You can keep anything, but not everything. Thanks to Dana for triggering that kind of idea and conversation on the podcast. Until next week, friends, enjoy the freedom.